Welcome back to eBEFOREi Video Reviews. Today we're taking a look at Transformers The Last Night, Walmart exclusive-ish hot rod. Very excited to have this guy in hand. Very special thanks, by the way, to Ben from Ben's World of Transformers, BWTF.com, for giving a little Facebook heads up that this guy was available to order on Walmart.com. So I'm very happy to have this. Thank you, Ben. We will compare him to Lockdown and see just how many pieces are, and very specifically are not the same. And we'll also do some fun comparisons to other versions of Deluxe Hot Rod. All that and more coming up next on eBEFOREi Video Reviews. All right, so comparing the Last Night Hot Rod to Age of Extinction Lockdown. See, when we first saw these two, our assumption was that they were basically going to be the same thing. But you can see, just looking at this, that they're very much not the same. Hot Rod is much, much bigger. So just take a look at that, and you can see that while they're both Lamborghinis, you can see that they're very much using different parts here almost all the way around. Let's take a closer look. So you can see that there's just not a lot the same. I mean, the front of the hood is very much different. The wheels are different wheels, and I'm not just talking paint. I mean, they're actually a different mold. Lockdown, the thing that really bugged me about this deluxe figure is he didn't have a window. And that has been rectified. There's also a piece that fills in a gap, which allows that window to happen. We'll show you more of that during transformation. On the back of the figure, completely remolded back. So, but no paint on the back of Hot Rod. That's a little disappointing. But there really isn't much to complain about. More on that. But as you can see, I mean, it's just very much a different figure. Even the in-molded windshield wipers are not the same. Even the plastic, the little joint piece inside is not the same because it's missing that little piping there that's not on this guy. Almost looks like he has a bat symbol there. It's really strange. But anyway, so as you can see, these are very much different figures. Now, transformation is similar. And we'll get into that step by step here in just a minute. I did want to point out some more things. There's a little bit of red highlight paint right there, right underneath the hood of the vehicle or the roof of the vehicle. It looks just so nice. It's so subtle, but very nice. Autobot symbol. The Autobot symbol's painted on fantastic. I already mentioned the painted wheels and just the red trim all the way around. That's not just bits of robot, you know, that just are bleeding through. It was done specifically to be shown in the bottom and the top, just right around the edges of vehicle mode, which is great. You can also see that he is a licensed Lamborghini, whereas Lockdown, he had the symbol, or the shape of the symbol, but it wasn't quite a licensed product like this one is, so very cool. The in plastic itself is kind of a gray speck. It's really nice, doesn't feel cheap. It's got kind of a matte finish to it, and then on the other side of it, it's shiny. It's just a nice texture and combination of plastics used. On the back, I'm not sure why that little piece of plastic doesn't extend all the way down. I guess it's a vent, right? I guess. And then you see how the mufflers kind of all come together. The plate kind of comes together. You gotta straighten that out a bit. But all in all, an excellent looking vehicle. He also rolls really, really well. I mean, there's nothing stopping that. And that's really important because a lot of Transformers don't roll. They transform and skid out, which is completely different. This guy actually can roll out, which is nice. Oh, and for fun's sake, because fun is why we're here, right? Don't take everything so seriously. But here is Titan's Return Hot Rod, and there's a basic size comparison there as well. Obviously, one of these is a real-life, very expensive vehicle, and the other one is a not-so-real-life, maybe would be expensive because it turns into a robot, and that's expensive. But there's another deluxe hot rod to compare him to. This one doesn't roll as well, though. Remember, Transformers should roll well? Example of one that does not. Let's move on to transformation. All right, so to get Hot Rod transformed, this is really, again, it's the little subtle differences between the transformation on this figure and the Age of Extinction Lockdown that you can see engineering-wise really what a better job they did with this. So the first thing you want to do is kind of start to explode things out. I'm just going to start pulling. That's just me. You can do what you want, but I find that's pretty easy to do. I'm going to come in here where those shoulder joints are, and I'm just going to go ahead and straighten out the arm. It's easy while you're in there to go ahead and do that. Then you can lift these pieces up right here and put them down to the sides, just like that. Now you're going to come in underneath the hood and grab this piece right here where the logo is and lift that whole thing up, and you're going to have this a whole bunch of joints that kind of explode open here. So one thing also, the instructions don't tell you to turn the head during transformation, but you really almost have to for that head to fit in. So make a mental note of that when you're transforming him from robot, who he's packaged as, into car to flip that head around. Now we're going to make a turn, just like that. So now the head is facing the front where it should be. Oops. Now I'm going to take the legs and split them. And I'm going to turn right at the knee, turn again, and form the feet, and rinse and repeat on the other side. So now you've got it basically looking like that. Now you're going to come around to the back, and you're going to take your thumb and push down on this piece and lift up with this. And you're going to come right into the back, dual hinge, 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 and just snap it down like that. Now you're going to turn the head so he's facing forward. Hello, Hot Rod. And then you're going to take this piece, and you see there's a hole right there, and there's a tab right there. You're going to fit that right into the tab, just like that, and give it a squeeze. All right, now you've got these super long monkey arms, but genius at Hasbro. They said, no monkey arms on my figure. What you want to do is turn it, and then take the wheel and bend it to form the fist, and now you've got a regular-sized non-monkey arm. Same thing, turn, turn, bend at the elbow, and now you can take the chest piece, which is all out and looking kind of funky, and move it in just like that, which forms the front part of the chest. And at this point, you're done. So you're ready to take your figure, stand him up, pose him up. Oh man, does he ever look great. I mean, everything was done right. Hasbro did a fantastic job, and it really, I just can't fathom how this guy got limited release with an exclusive retailer, which it actually turns out may not be the case. I mentioned at the beginning of this review that it was a Walmart-ish exclusive. I'm hearing reports that Walmart may have given up on that exclusivity. Maybe they got a deal back by saying, yeah, we don't really need this. The movie didn't do terribly great. It did well, but I don't know that it met everyone's expectations financially, and perhaps the toys were not selling as well either. If you'd release more than one wave, maybe people would buy them, but that's just me. So anyway, that's what's going on here. So you may be able to find him on Amazon. You may be able to find him in Target. We'll have to see how that goes. But anyway, that's your look at Hot Rod. Let's take a closer look. There's Hot Rod's face. He's kind of got a little duck lip action, maybe. It's an odd face. But you know, a lot of people are upset because, hey, this isn't my G1 Hot Rod. It doesn't have to be. He's only Hot Rod by name. This, to me, is a completely different character. This isn't the character from your childhood that got the Matrix and became Rodimus Prime. This is Hot Rod from Transformers: The Last Knight. I thought he was cool in the movie, and this figure is beyond cool in my opinion. The face sculpt, though, I do like it. It's just kind of different. But yeah, he's got blue around the eyes. You do see the little molded in eyeballs or sockets or whatever you'd call it in there. His mouth, which I don't love the mouth, I have to be honest. But everything else about the face I think is cool. And it even kind of looks cool from the side, but it just kind of has that duck look. Kind of weird for me. Looking at how the rest of this figure came together, I mean, really nice in my opinion. The chest piece looks good. You've got the silver that kind of pops, and that is painted. That's gray unpainted plastic. That's painted silver right there. Painted in the abdomen area, painted silver on the legs. The legs themselves look great. And the way the red accents with the silver, it just looks really good all the way around. as far as what he shares with Lockdown, we're going to compare them directly here in just a second. But remember these feet, because those are Lockdown's feet. On the back, everything compresses really nice together. So overall, I just think this guy looks so crazy good. Now his articulation, you got movement in the arm both, and you that's why I told you to put the shoulder down so that you can clear that joint, but you can move the arm all the way around without any issue. You also have the elbow joint and a swivel here. The fist only moves due to transformation, so in other words, it doesn't move at all. You do not have waist swivel. The legs are almost like on a ratchet, all right, but you can move it up. And then you have a bend at the knee and also a swivel at the knee. So there's a lot of posability. If you're one that knows how to pose your figures, there's a lot that you can do with that. Now let's get Lockdown in here. And you can see right off the top the mistakes that they made with Lockdown were rectified in Hot Rod. I mean, Lockdown's too short. He never looked right. He looked like he was just a little person. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but his legs were not in proportion with the rest of his body. Now, had Lockdown had feet that bent at the bottom of his, so I straightened out his feet. If his actual feet were down here, then I think that the proportion would have been fine. If he was as tall as Hot Rod, the proportions would have been all right, and Lockdown would have been great. But as is, when you bend him at the foot, he's just too tiny. He just doesn't look right. He's got these giant arms. The arms were all... In fact, let's just take a look at all the differences in the molds. So here's the molds themselves up close, and you can see that on the top, you do have the same part where the neck pegs into the gray plastic. But other than that, I mean, you've got a different hood section. You've got a difference between the split of the two plastic pieces. You've got a different abdomen piece, or crotch piece, whatever you prefer to call it. You don't have the exposed wheel on the hip because the wheel is actually on the elbow because of the weight of transformation. You actually have an elbow versus just an arm that's sitting on the inside right there, which I never like figures that do that. And prime example. You also have different in-plastic molding on this part of the leg. On the bottom part of the leg, you also, actually that's the same. So from about this part down, you have, I believe, to be the exact same pieces, just different color. The feet, as I mentioned earlier, are exactly the same. The pegs are the same. So from the knee down, you have the same figure. From the knee up, I mean, everything has been remolded. Ben, as I mentioned earlier, from BWTF.com, had mentioned on my feed just a bit ago that it was as if, in his words, it was as if they took the CAD file as a starting point for this figure and then completely redid it from there, using this as just a base. And that certainly makes sense. It does seem to be that way as well. There's just so much different that to call Hot Rod a straight up redeco or slight retool, which was my initial statement when I first opened him up, of the original Lockdown is really not doing this figure justice. There's so much different here that it really is a completely different figure. Now, I just told you earlier, don't think of him as him, and yeah, but I'm still going to compare them. So here they are side by side. And you can also get a better idea of scale that these two are about the same height. So you really do have a deluxe class figure that's not shrunken down like Barricade was kind of small. And certainly you can see, I mean, again, this just didn't work. He needed to be up here. Really needed to be a Voyager. But as is, I think that these guys scale pretty well. If you do want him hanging out with Cup because he is the guy that's going to take the Matrix, that's cool. You can pretend. And that's what those two look like. Cup's like, what the heck is that? But that's what they look like together. And there he is next to Murder Bee because I happen to have him laying around. A little bit dusty. Sorry about that. But that's what he looks like next to Bumblebee from, I think that was from Age of Extinction. Could have been the movie before. I get confused sometimes. So what are my thoughts on the figure? I think that the Last Night Deluxe Class Hot Rod is utterly fantastic. I definitely recommend you pick this guy up. Again, he should be available at other retailers besides Walmart if you don't have a Walmart near you, or if you're outside of the States. I think you're going to get a little bit more distribution of this guy, so definitely look for him in the near future. And I hope that you find him, because I really do think that he's a great, great piece to your collection, whether you collect movie figures or not. His vehicle mode is fantastic. Robot mode, I think that may be an acquired taste for some. I love it personally, but whether you love it or not is really up to you and your own personal taste. But only you can tell yourself whether or not this works for you or not, because you're you. So there's my bit of education on this review. Thanks again for watching eBEFOREi video reviews. If you're a fan of what I do, please consider clicking subscribe and putting a thumbs up. Maybe leave a comment on the channel. Let your friends know about eBEFOREi video reviews. I'm all over the place. On Facebook, I'm eBEFOREi. On Twitter, I'm at eBEFOREiNet. I'm at youtube.com/eBEFOREiNet. And I hope to see you around in the near future. We'll see you back here again real soon.